Now, a story we first told you about yesterday. The Mobile Bay mystery continues. Dozens of sharks that washed up on the western shore of Mobile Bay are gone today, but folks are still wondering what brought them there. And it was a mystery this morning when several residents living close to Dolphin Island Parkway on Mobile Bay woke to find about 100 dead black-tip sharks on the beach. Their cause of death is unknown, and how they got there is unknown. News 5 photojournalist Clinton Bourgeois was at the scene and has this report.
Now you guys are going to have to show me how to eat the crab.
The smell of fresh boiled seafood. That's what Sabrina Rios was looking forward to during her Mobile vacation.
Good.
But early this morning, another not-so-savory smell began to fill the air.
We kept smelling this awful smell like every time a gust of wind would come.
The source of the smell shocked them.
We checked the beach next door, and where we found it was just lined with sharks.
Just a lot of dead fish gone to waste. Very upsetting.
The group said they counted over 40 of what seems to be black-tip sharks. At first, they thought they washed ashore, but later noticed this was no accident.
Yeah, we came down a little bit further and we found this. There's probably about 40 more in there. Pretty sure that's what caught them all.
There were close to 100 dead sharks along this small beach in the Bellefontaine area off of Dolphin Island Parkway. Rios said they noticed a group using a similar net yesterday.
It definitely caught our attention because we know that that's illegal and you shouldn't be doing that. We just didn't know what to do about it.
In an attempt to hide the smell, they tried to bury the sharks, but there were just too many.
And they just left them because it was too hard to get them out.
Rios said this incident put a damper on what for the most part was a pleasant vacation.
We were here to enjoy the beauty, to go out on the boat, to go out on the kayaks, and now here we are with, a bunch of dead sharks on the beach. It's just really sad.
The green ooze seen from above Florida's coast prompted a state of emergency. The severe algae bloom on the St. Lucie River responsible for shutting down several beaches in South Florida just before the busy 4th of July weekend.
I'm trying to breathe in that.
Dramatic footage caught on cell phone camera shows manatees struggling to move through the thick slime.
Just want some clean water.
Good Samaritans do their best to rinse the manatee off, fighting to breathe.
Just watch your head.
Okay. Senator Bill Nelson wanting to get a look for himself.
Look, folks, here it is. 100% horror.
Captain Rufus Wakeman says the thick cover on top of the water is hurting his fishing business. He's unable to rely on the river.
Oh, it's bad. It's all bad. Our way of life here in Stuart, Florida is dictated by the river. We have a lot of people who enjoy our waterways, and without good, clean water, they can't. When you show up at a boat ramp and you got a high bacteria sign there,
Chinese authorities are investigating thousands of dead fish in a river near the site of the recent chemical explosion in Tianjin. And while this disaster occurs away from home, US scientists have started an investigation of their own as to why dozens of large whales are washing up dead on the shores of Alaska. 30 large whales in total since May. And the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration has declared the string of large whale deaths around Alaska as an unusual mortality event and are racing to find out why.
A federal investigation has begun to determine the source of an unusual mortality event. For months, whales have been found dead, floating on the surface in the Gulf of Alaska or washing ashore. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration stated Thursday they are well aware of the occurrence. An official with NOAA added they are concerned with the large number of whales stranding in the Gulf. Thus far, almost 30 whales have been found in the Gulf region.
Huge numbers of fish have washed ashore in the Hatton, Gwangbin, Gwangji, and Thừa Thiên Huế provinces. The dead fish have been washing up on beaches along the country's central coast, include a rare species that live far offshore in the deep waters. The kill-off is apparently caused by industrial effluent, and state-run media coverage says the government is focusing on a mile-long wastewater pipeline that runs from a multi-million-dollar steel plant in Hatton, owned by Taiwanese conglomerate Formosa. Dead fish washing up on shore is caused by serious pollution and is now threatening the food source, with no resolution in sight. Locals are told not to eat the fish, but they are also wary of their catch from the sea. The fish kill puts Vietnam's traditional fishing industry in conflict with the company's push to become an industrial power.
Breaking news. More disturbing, troubling news from Japan just into CNN. An explosive impact occurred Tuesday morning. It is now Tuesday morning in Asia at the earthquake-damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in the number 2 reactor. That is the same reactor officials said earlier today had its rods fully exposed during a cooling problem. They were pumping seawater in. They had a temporary problem with that. The rods were fully exposed at one point. Now we are told of an explosive impact. This is said to have occurred just about 2 hours ago at 5:14 p.m. here in the east, 6:14 a.m. Japan. This as Japanese authorities continue pumping seawater into the 3 crippled reactors at that site, trying to keep their radioactive fuel rods covered in an effort to cool them down. If the fuel rods were left exposed, those temperatures could build up 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. With radiation so intense, it could become impossible to deal with. Now, that's
all right, so brace yourself for the big one. That is the warning from a leading scientist who says California is overdue for a major earthquake. So just how big are they talking here? I've been hearing it for so many years, but according to a leading scientist who says the Southern California section of the San Andreas Fault is now primed for some action. San Andreas is the state's longest fault and one of the most dangerous. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt live in Los Angeles for us. So Jonathan, what are they seeing in this fault at this point?
Well, some pretty stark warnings, Martha. We haven't had a big one along the southern section of the San Andreas Fault as earthquake scientists define a big one since about 1857. But there's obviously been a lot of earthquake activity around the globe recently. You'll remember the terrible pictures we have seen from Ecuador, for instance. So now they're saying San Andreas Fault long overdue. And when you look at a map of the San Andreas Fault, it's about 800 miles in total in length, right along California. But it's that southern section near Los Angeles that they're concerned about. You see San Bernardino and Riverside marked there, suburbs of LA, and they say that that section looks ready to go. The quote, in fact, from Thomas Jordan, director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, was this, quote, "The springs on the San Andreas system have been wound very, very tight, and the Southern Andreas Fault in particular looks like it's locked, loaded, and ready to go." Frightening words, and every earthquake expert we've been hearing from in probably the last decade, Martha, has been saying the same thing. The one thing they can't agree on is exactly when it's coming.
So there's a strange noise coming out in Forest Grove, Oregon, that nobody knows what it is or where it's coming from. Take a listen.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
Excruciating.
They have no idea where it's coming from. At first, they thought maybe it was like metal screeching on a train track, but there are no train tracks nearby. Somebody recorded it, took it to the fire department. The fire marshal there says that they just have no clue. What could be that noise?
So wait, so it's still a mystery at this point?
It's still a mystery. Still a big mystery.
It's got to be wonderful.
So I wake up to these sounds in the middle of the night. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning right now. This is in Everett, Washington. And there's nothing over there. I've driven over there looking to find something, and there's nothing over there. In fact, there's a wetlands, and then on the other side of it there's actually more wetlands. There's really nothing out there. This is the area between Snohomish and Everett, Washington. Close to the Lowell area.
about demonic possession, how it's on the rise worldwide. A lot of these events are occurring where people are becoming demonically possessed, specifically children at schools. We're seeing that going on around the world. We've seen it in India, we've seen it in South Africa. It's going on in America too. And when stories come out about demonic possession, they're always usually there to discredit it. And that's probably why this story is out. But the Satanists know, because they're clever and they obviously control everything, so they know how to pin people and how to push their emotions one way or the other, because they're controlling all of this and they're controlling the media. But when they release stories like this about psychiatrists, you know, this psychiatrist, a very world-renowned psychiatrist named Dr. Richard Gallagher, came out, and Washington Post and all these major publications picked up on the story where he said that there's a difference between somebody with mental problems and demonic possession. So he's admitting that demonic possession is real. He tells his story where he says, you know, back in the 1980s, he was introduced to a woman who referred to herself as a witch, a satanic priestess, and even the queen of Satan. The doctor came to know the woman when he was asked by a Catholic priest to determine whether she was suffering from mental illness or demonic possession. At the time, Dr. Gallagher was a devout skeptic, despite being a practicing Catholic. According to the doctor, after examining the woman, he felt that she was actually the victim of demonic possession. He said
80 children have been treated in hospital after an outbreak of demonic possession in Peruvian school, where pupils say they had visions of a man in black trying to kill them.